Hello everyone, welcome back to part 2 of working with JSON library in Java. In the previous video we saw how to serialize and deserialize object in Java. We learned how to change an object to JSON and how to change JSON back to an object in Java. We had a user class with different properties. We learned about these annotations. Hope you guys have watched the first video. And also we had a user.json file that serializes the user information here. So let me go to main and run that. It's going to serialize the user, which is Alex, to the file and deserialize it or read it back from JSON file and print it over here. In this video we're going to work with how to serialize and deserialize list of objects. The problem with our this approach is going to be, if I want to create another user, say I want to create a user, let's call it Mark. I'm gonna give it an ID of 2, name Mark. Let's give him a height of 5.5. I'm gonna leave the rest as it is, but here it's going to write or serialize Alex. What I'm going to do after I serialized and write Alex to the file, I'm going to write Mark also in the file. What it is going to do, it's going to override, first it's going to serialize and write Alex to the file. Once it reaches the line number 38, it's going to overwrite Alex and write Mark instead of that in the file and read it back. So let's run our project. Right now we have Alex here in our JSON file with ID 1. And if I run the project, run the main method, it's going to override Alex with Mark, ID number 2, Mark, and the other information. So we don't want that. We want to append or add new users to the file. When a new user is added, we want to add them as an array of objects or an array of JSON objects instead of overriding the previous one. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna refactor my functions. Here we take a path, that's good. We take a user, that's good. Okay, we open the file. Once we open the file, we check if the file exists. If file dot exist, if the file is already there and we have some data in the file, and the file is not empty, we're going to say file dot size. Does it have a size or length? Maybe 5.length is greater than 0. If there is something in the file, first we are going to read those objects and add this new object to that list and rewrite it back to the file. So what I'm going to do is I will create a list of users here so that we can read from the file. Users equal to new array list. So if there's something in the file, what we are going to do, we're going to use our object mapper dot read value. Again, we're going to pass our file. Here we are going to pass the type of the value that we are mapping or deserializing the content of the JSON file to that. Since we are using a generic type here, but if we have an array of users, we could say user array dot class. This would work. But right now, since we are using generics, the types of generics is determined by compiler at the runtime. JSON library provides a type reference object. Through that we can determine the type of the object that we want to map to. So we are going to create a new type reference and we are going to pass list of users. So we want to map whatever we have in our file or JSON file, we want to map it to list of user. Let me bring it here and put a semicolon. It's going to throw an exception surrounded with a try catch block. You can provide a proper messaging here. I'm not going to do that in this video. You guys, if you want, you can provide a proper message what's happening here. So this read value right now is going to return a list of users. We can catch that and store it in this users reference. So users equal to object mapper.read values. It's going to read the content of the file. Once we read that, then we are going to add the new user to our list. We'll say users.add user. We want to append the new users to the list. Then after we read that, let me put a command here, reading from JSON file. And here, once we read everything and add the user, we are going to append or rewrite the list of users to our file. Write the list back to the file here. So what we are going to do, we can use the writer object. We pass file, but instead of user, we have to pass users, since we have a list of users. Then I think the rest of the things are good. Try object mapper. Okay, looks good to me. While reading from JSON file, let's bring changes here also. Instead of one user, right now we can return a list of user. We get a file path that looks good. File. So again, we are going to check if the file exists. If file.exist and file.length is greater than 0. If there is anything in the file we are going to read from, I'm gonna cat this and put it here. Try user. Instead of users, we are going to one user, we're going to read a list of users. So here we need a list of user, list user, sorry, users equal to new array list. So we are going to read object mapper the read values files. Instead of user.class, we are reading and mapping to a list of users. Since it is generic, Jackson provides new type reference. We don't want this override, so list of users looks good. And here we pass, we return users. I think looks good to me. Let's run our project. Okay, here it's going to return a list of user, not a user. So what I'm gonna do is I will say list users equal to read from JSON. So once, okay, we are writing two objects and reading back from that. What I'm gonna do is once I read everything, I'm gonna print it. Users are for each system out. So hopefully it works. Finger crossed. We got an exception. Cannot deserialize value of type. Okay. Okay, I think we have a different format here. It's not a list. So let me clear the content of the user.json file. Go back to main and let's run. Hopefully it can. Yeah, it worked. So we had a different format here. It wasn't a list of users. A list of users in JSON is included inside this square bracket. Right now we have a list of users, square bracket. This is a one object. Sorry, one object. We have our second object separated by comma. User ID 2, name is Mark, height is 5.5, and etc. So this way we can append as many users as we want in our JSON file and transfer it over the network. Let's add another user also. Go to main. I'm gonna copy this and paste it here. Let's call it Mark2 ID of 3. Just and we have ignored the password. It's not gonna store the password, and we have formatted these data. Run it. Yeah, we have now it's appending. We had two objects previously. Let's see that. ID 3. Okay, we didn't, I think we didn't write it to the file. Let's do here. We have mark 2. We're going to write it to the file, but before that, let's clear the content of the file, as otherwise it's going to get bigger and bigger. Go to main and run our project. Now it's going to append each object. Right now we have 3 objects in our file, JSON file. We have ID1, ID2, mark1, mark2, and Alex. Let's check the JSON. We have an array of JSON objects. Object 1 is with ID1. Object 2 is ID2 mark, and object 3 with ID3 mark2. So this way we can work with list of objects, how to serialize and deserialize list of objects in Java. Thank you guys for watching, and see you in the next video. Bye bye.